Now, let me show you what happens into the structure of the body. Now, let's look at what happens on the inside of your body in the structure or the spinal sections of your body. So this is a vertebra. This is the lower vertebra, which is the sacrum and the coccyx down here. So this is S1, this is L5 or lumbar bone 5. And what we're looking at here is in between these two vertebrae here, which have their own blood supply, they're live bones. And in between here is an intervertebral disc, or in between the vertebra disc. In the middle of an intervertebral disc is a ball of fluid called the nucleus pulposus. Nucleus means middle, and it's full of pulp. There's nerves come out of here and on the other side. I'll draw them here so that we get the idea of them. It's not quite accurate, but it's close enough. Now, when you pick up something from the ground, which is, say, 20 kilos, you put a microscopic tear in the intervertebral disc. Some part of that 650 kilos of pressure is transferred to the intervertebral disc at the pivot point or fulcrum of your body. This overnight will repair with scar tissue. When you pick up $100 bill, you put a slightly less tear in there, or not always, but in some cases. Now, when you pick up a 20-kilo load from the ground, you put a microscopic tear in the intervertebral disc, which overnight will repair with scar tissue. When you pick up a $100 bill or $50 bill from the ground, you put a lesser tear in there, but it's like a microscopic impression. You just do it. Now, if you do the same move, let's say you're doing a twist, you might do that slight move, but you do it 5 times, and that will actually tear the intervertebral disc a little bit harder there. But then I ask people, what about the number of incorrect lifts? That is, bent over, touching your toes type of lifting. How many incorrect lifts have you done in the last, say, 5 years? So you tell me when to stop, accounting for the little tears and little impressions, the little microscopic tears in your intervertebral disc, which you've done over the last, say, 5 years. Some people say to me, oh, just color it in, because nobody ever really knew that you were putting pressure on this part of the body and in such a way that you were tearing the intervertebral disc with light loads as well as heavy loads. So this is the sort of tearing that can go on. Then, of course, what you've got to do is you've got to look at the number of tears from a twisting action. So this sideways moving, which this outside part of the body of the body of the intervertebral disc is called the annulus. Now, here is maybe all of the twisting actions that you've done here. So we've got to add the twisting. Now, remember, they're all repairing with scar tissue over time. What you do is you pulverize the intervertebral disc. At this point, I could show you a degenerated disc. We can show you the process that takes place over time and how that multiplies through the body. So in here, you've got the bends and you've got the twists. There's also side bending, which the code of practice recommends that we do not do as well. So you've got to add the side bending and then the back bending as well. So we can go into that in the script in detail. But then eventually what occurs in the body is, after a period of time, if you then bend forward, which is in this direction of your body, if you bend forward, then you squash the intervertebral disc a little bit like this, which means that the nerve comes down a little bit like this, This nerve slots in here because it's in a slot in the bone in between the two. And then the pressure will push this fluid in here out towards the nerve that's coming out from here. And when you get that pressing, when you get the outer body of the annulus pressing against the nerve, you get a sharp electrical shock in this part of the body, and it feels terrible, and you get this microscopic tears all adding up, and the fluid, the nucleus pulposus is ruptured, and it finds its way out, and maybe you're left with a little bit of it, but you no longer have it, and your body excretes it from the body. When this occurs, you've got that sharp electrical shock in your body, and that is what we call a herniated or ruptured disc. It herniates out the side or ruptures out the side, and it is commonly called a slipped disc in Australia. After a few days, this will wear off a little bit. The body will correct itself a little bit. The fluid in here stops pumping out because you've lost most of it. This will repair with scar tissue around here, and then this will repair, and your body will, the nerve is away from the swelling now, and you think you're well, but in fact what you've done is lost this ball of fluid that is keeping this bone and this bone apart. When this occurs, then what happens is your body will notice that gravity is pushing down here like this, and the body will notice that there is not so much integrity holding this bone and this bone apart. So the body drops down a little bit. The nerve is in the slot, so it comes down a little bit. This swelling goes away more and more as you get more and more well. But then you've lost this part of your body forever, which is only a small amount. But then the facet joints at the back here, which we will show a graphic of, start to jam up, and then the body starts to throw down osteoarthritis into the joint, and then you have a degenerated lower back here. And we'll show you the model of the degenerated back, and then you start to have symptoms which we generally call a bad back.